The new Boruto Two Blue Vortex chapter is finally out and there are many clues and foreshadowings. The most important one is that it seems as if we are distracted from the main issue in Konoha, that is the position of the Hokage, which Shikamaru might have found out about. Keep in mind, we only know what Kawaki had in mind when imprisoning Naruto. We don't know whether Kawaki was manipulated into doing just that. The fact is that the missing Hokage position was the very first foreshadowing in all of Boruto. It's the most important plotline. And Shikamaru seems to know more than we do, in fact, more than Boruto. Let's talk about it. As always, traditionally, let's begin with the predictions that came true. Shikamaru was indeed investigating Kawaki and Boruto.
Another one.
Shikamaru refuses to be the real Hokage and only pretends to control the village, not letting anyone else be Hokage because he doesn't trust anyone. This is also why he couldn't speak openly with Sarada in the first chapter.
Another one.
Code influenced the Shinju with the Mitsuki DNA, but it's not clear yet whether it's really Ishiki or Shibai.
Another one.
Mitsuki doesn't trust Kawaki, and a bunch of other small predictions. We are definitely on the right track with everything Boruto, so definitely subscribe to one of the best Boruto channels here on YouTube. Without further ado, let's begin the review. The new Boruto chapter begins with Shikamaru talking to the Konoha Council about Boruto and his return after all he did and the danger of being prosecuted. Here, Kishimoto depicts the confusion in Konoha. Everyone who knows Kawaki and Boruto, regardless of what they now believe to be true, should at least once have found the personal feeling that something about the story might not be as it seems. Shikamaru even openly hints at the idea that Boruto might not be dangerous for them by stating that he actually saved them from Code's invasion. Despite Shikamaru's effort to clean Boruto's name, the Konoha Council decides to order Boruto's elimination. Now, it's important to understand that despite the negative attitude towards Boruto, the council doesn't really care about the truth. So we can't say that they don't believe Shikamaru or that they don't have doubts. It's purely business or rather political in terms of security and relationships. It's clear that since the disappearance of Naruto, the Land of Fire, or whatever the official term is, no longer trusts Konoha, most likely because everyone is equally confused about the situation. Although within Konoha, Boruto is blamed for what happened and what he plans to do with Kawaki, who is believed to be Naruto's son. From an outside perspective, it simply looks like a successful assassination of Naruto Uzumaki, the hero of the world. Meanwhile, Sasuke, the past villain in the Naruto world, seems to be involved with someone who's a complete mystery to those outside of Konoha. Boruto as Kawaki is a cyborg with no association with any village or group, and yet is a master of ninjutsu, who happens to also have Otsutsuki abilities. This is extremely sus. You have to understand how bizarre this situation really is, because even the most famous evil organization so far, that is Akatsuki, that tried to take over the world, was filled with shinobis who were associated with the village. Everyone knew them, they were famous. You couldn't just join Akatsuki without having a big name. You don't have to be famous, but it was something that just automatically came with being strong enough to join the organization. But Boruto is just a nobody, a child back then, who simply out of nowhere showed the skills of Sasuke. It's almost like when Sasuke had his redemption arc, so to speak, that he adopted or found a child who he secretly trained, and then plotted together with him to finish the job he himself couldn't. He couldn't defeat Naruto, and now this is his revenge. A new Madara and Obito basically. That's how it looks if you don't know Sasuke and Boruto personally. Obviously, this has a strong effect on Konoha, which is known for making assassinations, especially involving the Uchiha clan. And now again within Uchiha, there are many reasons they could suspect such a plot. The council mentions financial reasons, which obviously is a huge concern with all the technological development. Basically, even if they believe Boruto, Konoha is not allowed to openly support him, because otherwise they will face political and financial trouble and might even lose their control over Konoha. Keep in mind, we don't know Amado's real plan. It could even be the control of Konoha. That's what Shikamaru must prevent, hence the very transparent stance towards the situation. He has no other choice but to support that decision. Furthermore, my prediction that Shikamaru isn't really the Hokage and exactly why that is the case has now been confirmed to be true. Shikamaru has not taken the Hokage position but has occupied it so that it won't fall into the hands of anyone he can't trust. and who might even be involved in whoever is responsible for Naruto's disappearance. The problem I have, however, is why isn't he just taking the Hokage position and then making sure that the council is nervous? That way he can continue his investigation and keep the position away from anyone who wishes harm. So the fact that he believes he shouldn't be Hokage at the moment should also be important, and despite the fact that people actually refer to him as the Hokage, his cape is still without the text, and his head wasn't built yet either, which implies that the ceremony didn't take place and it's just a temporary position. It could be that he is afraid that the position of the Hokage itself was the reason why Naruto disappeared, so by taking the position officially, something might happen to Shikamaru as well. That's a realistic belief if you don't know the truth. But here it's very important to consider that even if we as readers know what happened to Naruto, we cannot be sure that what happened to him wasn't planned by someone else who manipulated Kawaki, which points once again to Amado, who is responsible for why Kawaki ended up in Konoha to begin with. Amado literally targeted this village and with that Naruto. We need to keep in mind that although we believe we know Amado's plan, everything could be a lie. Momoshiki literally hinted at the idea that humans' memories might have been changed before. Amado could indeed be after the Hokage position or try to put someone specific in that spot, and will assassinate everyone who tries to have that position. I know this explanation sounds ambiguous and is extremely transparent, but we can't ignore that very likely possibility. It might not be his main goal, but it could certainly be a step down the road. Otherwise, there's no reason why Shikamaru shouldn't just simply take that spot. There needs to be some sort of plot relevance. And we can't ignore the fact that this was one of the first foreshadowings shown in the first chapter. I have always told you, the fact that Naruto is gone but there's no new Hokage will become relevant, so it's not just a side plot. In fact, it's all about the Hokage position and possibly the shinobi era that someone is trying to destroy using Kawaki. So let's just keep in mind the possibility that maybe Amado, despite his main goal, might have the interest of Konoha not having a Hokage for whatever reason, which would fit with the worries of the council who believes that they might lose control over the village if things continue the way they are. Then we see Ino bringing Shikamaru the old mission records, which he probably investigates to find out the truth about Boruto. In the moment it turns out to be an excuse, but I think they could still be important nonetheless. The physical evidence might confuse everyone else, but for Shikamaru it's unacceptable. And here it perfectly showcases what I meant when I told you that it looked like he was not able to openly speak with Sarada. The first chapter made it pretty obvious that he was forced to treat Sarada the way he did to ensure that her very dangerous tongue won't get her into trouble, simply because he doesn't know who the traitor is, what is real, and what capabilities they have. It turns out that the main objective of Ino bringing the documents was mainly to establish communication with Shikamaru. Shikamaru reveals that he doesn't want to be heard by the detection team, showcasing how deep the mistrust in the people of Konoha really is. He doesn't trust anyone, just a few people. It could even mean that Amado might actually be working with someone well established within Konoha, and might have always worked with them. Again, just remember things like Danzo. There are many plots that could happen. Then the scene switches to Ada and Kawaki. Finally we see their dynamic after the time skip, and it's honestly quite interesting to see that they are chilling together to begin with. I bet if she wouldn't have intel about the Shinju, he probably wouldn't even come to her. But seeing him having a drink, having lunch, having his jacket off, kind of looks like he's feeling comfortable around Ada or at her place, whatever, so that's definitely something to keep in mind as well. Ada explains the whole situation with the awakened consciousness, but she also revealed that although they are already Shinjus, they are further transforming into something totally different. This will become more important in a moment because although it seems normal from the perspective of someone who doesn't know them, it's definitely unusual. As we will see in a moment with Boruto, who knows much more about them, it's something that shouldn't happen that way. This is because the Shinju is apparently already the transformation that will take place once they have consumed an Otsutsuki. It's a bit complicated, let's first move on, then come back to that topic in a moment. When Kawaki mentioned Code and what he has to do with all that, because clearly he was controlling the original 10 tails, Shinjus before they turned into Shinjus. Ada revealed that Code ran away because there's nothing he can do anymore. He's too weak, and that's very important. The fact that Kishimoto made the mention Code and his escape highlights the fact that this is important, as I've already told you when it happened. Because not only did he run away, but clearly the Shinjus were entirely ignoring Code. They were only attacking Boruto. In fact, it looked like they purposely let Code escape, as if Code is important for their goal. This idea is strengthened by the fact that the Shinjus revealed to know more about Code, likely because of their hive-like mind. They knew his name and the fact that someone yet unknown, is controlling or rather manipulating Code. This implies Code was used to create the Shinjus, hence it can only be Amado unless Amado's controlled himself. And this also fits the idea that Koji somehow told Code about where Boruto was so that Sasuke could be absorbed. It all fits together. But there's more to that, which I will also address in a moment as well. And then she dropped the bombshell. She reveals the current purpose of the Shinjus, that is, the targeting of their instinct, particularly the interest in Naruto. This made me realize that it's totally silly to believe that Jura will fight Naruto. It makes much more sense that Kawaki will be the one fighting Jura to protect Naruto, while Boruto will fight the Sasuke Shinju to protect Sarada. Don't get me wrong, obviously Sarada will have her fight, but I doubt she's on that level yet unless her Mangekyou is exceptionally overpowered, which I highly doubt at the moment. This doesn't mean that she will remain weaker than a Shinju, but clearly she needs training. For that, she first needs to be confronted with an opponent that is much stronger than her in order to understand how much stronger she has to become herself. After mentioning Naruto, she also implied that she's in danger, which Kawaki completely ignores, showcasing the true dynamic between them, at least when it comes to how much he is interested in Naruto compared to Ada. But when we look at Ada, she also seems to be aware of the idea that Kawaki doesn't like her the way she likes him, or maybe even used to like him. She didn't mention the fact that she's targeted with much confidence, almost like it's a lost cause already and she's already moving on. But she's still trying a few last times to see whether he has any interest at all. Maybe it's a Sakura situation where she just won't let go, but let's see where this will develop. This also proves that Demon will be the one fighting Bug, in my opinion. Maybe together with Himawari, you never know. Then Demon revealed an obvious observation, because it seems that the Shinjus appear to have a certain knowledge about the world. This is probably not only because they have the instinct of their original hosts, but also because they are somehow connected to all the chakra itself, at least the one on Earth, which will completely expose the lie that Kawaki made up. And that's definitely true. Overall, it doesn't look like the lie will be relevant much longer because too many people have already discovered the truth. So it doesn't matter if irrelevant characters won't know about it. The main cast, pretty much all of them, knows the truth, or at least suspects that something isn't right. Sarada, Sumire, Demon, Ada, Boruto, Kawaki, Sasuke, and probably Naruto and Hinata, since they were not on Earth when that jutsu was cast. Then there's Shikamaru, Ino, Amado, Koji, Code. It's almost like everyone knows the truth anyway. If they figured it out, it's likely that many others suspect the same, it's just not revealed yet. The meeting ends with Kawaki once again being pretty rude. When looking at Ada, it's not the same expression that Sakura had with Sasuke. She seems to have much more of a giving up attitude in my opinion. I wouldn't be surprised if Kawaki won't be able to control Ada's ability anymore simply because she doesn't like him the same way she did back then, which, to be honest, would be the only way how Kawaki could be prevented from using that ability over and over again. But as mentioned, we will have to see what Ada really thinks of this. Maybe she will even develop a crush on Boruto now that he is the same age as she was when she stopped aging. The only reason why she picked Kawaki to begin with, she always thought Boruto was cooler. But we should also keep in mind that most likely at least one of the Shinjus will be successful, and it happens that Ada is simply the most irrelevant character. So I wouldn't be surprised if Bug will actually be successful in absorbing Ada, which again would look like Amado only gave Ada that power so that the Shinju could just take it back at some point. When Kawaki left the house, Mitsuki was already waiting outside, which Kawaki reacts extremely annoyed by. I think it's pretty obvious that Kawaki is purposely depicted as annoyed by everything and everyone all the time. This is because they are constantly comparing him and his personality to that of Boruto, that is, the Boruto they believe to be the outsider. They don't recognize Naruto's son and it's all Kawaki's fault. But this time it's actually a little bit tense between the two, much more than I have described in my previous video. If you watch my videos, I told you that Mitsuki doesn't have the same attitude towards Kawaki like he had towards Boruto before the reality change, simply because Kawaki is not Boruto. And here it's clearly depicted. It's almost like a silent argument or fight they have, with Kawaki even dropping a direct insult. It's actually crazy. He's walking around bullying everyone who's not playing along with his game, and even acts like he's above the Hokage. We will come back to that in a moment. The scene switches to Boruto, Sarada, and Sumire, the love triangle. That's no longer deniable. I don't think I need to mention this any further. She's totally in love with him. Sumire clearly noticed it, and now it's them fighting for his love. It's not a nasty fight, they both respect each other, but it's clear Boruto is between them. Coming to the important part, Boruto revealed that Sasuke was absorbed into the 10 tails, but upon starting to explain, Kawaki immediately noticed Boruto, which is quite curious because Boruto said that no one will find him, as he has vanished as chakra. But it's only a matter of time until Kawaki does, implying that Kawaki can sense beyond chakra. Then we have seen Kawaki actually not simply finding him, for example, with the help of Ada, but he actually felt him. That has got to be some sort of Otsutsuki ability, likely similar to Ninshu. It appears as if there is something beyond chakra, something not accessible or felt by anyone other than Otsutsukis, something that Kawaki can literally feel, but it's no chakra. I'm sure that the manga will further elaborate on that in the future once we are diving deeper into the abilities of Boruto and Kawaki after the time skip. What's really mind-blowing and proving everything I told you is the fact that Mitsuki actually used the opportunity to attack Kawaki, something Mitsuki would have never done with Boruto before the reality change, proving my point that Mitsuki too suspects Kawaki to be an imposter, and that he wants to find out who Boruto really is, which then again implies that he believes that Boruto could be Naruto's son, or at least he feels some sort of connection to Boruto. Then the scene with Boruto explaining the situation continues. Boruto reveals that the existence on purpose of the 10 tails is indeed just absorbing chakra, but we have to keep in mind that chakra is not simply chakra, it's knowledge, and that's what the Shinjus are truly after. But it's a bit chaotic in this case right now. Usually the 10 tails eats all the chakra and eventually absorbs an Otsutsuki and then turns into a god tree translated to Shinju. So even if we refer to Shinjus and to god trees, they are the same thing. But what we call Shinju is more like an awakened tree with consciousness. And so Boruto continues that usually the Shinju stage should be the stage a god tree strives to achieve. But they are already evolving into a Shinju, implying that they haven't yet reached that final stage. However, none of them has consumed an Otsutsuki so far. So something really mysterious is happening here. Before it's revealed, the scene switches once again back to Mitsuki. Mitsuki contacts Shikamaru to inform him about Boruto. This has a huge hidden meaning, that is, it proves that Mitsuki really doesn't trust Kawaki just as I have predicted. Furthermore, Kishimoto once again highlights the fact that Kawaki was able to feel Boruto, hinting at the idea that there's an energy that goes beyond chakra, which helps Otsutsukis to distinguish between other Otsutskis who don't rely on chakra. This is especially obvious because right after that, Mitsuki also assumed that Boruto can also feel Kawaki. Maybe it's an advanced version of ki or something like that, or a god chakra that humans simply don't have. In any case, Mitsuki has knocked Kawaki unconscious, which not only proves that Mitsuki has become extremely powerful, which was implied by Urashiki, but once again shows that he doesn't trust Kawaki. He would have never done something like that to Boruto, and it's all Kawaki's fault because of the way he treats everyone around him. Then the scene changes back to Boruto. He explains that it could be possible that Kote's chakra is affecting the 10 tails, triggering their transformation to Shinjus, which is exactly what I have predicted. This implies that Kote has some sort of Otsutsuki essence that was enough to trigger the transformation to a Shinju, but not enough to complete it. Hence, they are something like a pre-Shinju, having to absorb Boruto and Kawaki to finish that transformation. Which is also odd, usually only one Otsutsuki would be enough, and yet Jura implied that they need to absorb both of them, especially if we assume that Kote already gave the essence to make the transformation possible. One would assume that one Otsutsuki would be enough, but clearly here it's not the case, hence there's a secret plot in the background background, Jura is controlled by someone else, most likely Amado. And so Boruto implied many times the Shinju they have to deal with is no longer the one that is usually the case, which again implies that Koji, for some reason, knows more about the Shinjus than anyone else. How else can Boruto know how Shinjus usually work? Which again points back to Amado, who's controlling Koji and also is responsible for Code being the way he is, and ultimately why the Shinjus exist to begin with. We should always keep in mind that Amado might be lying about his daughter and might have modified Ada and all that. He could easily try to bring Shibai back to life, and who has Shibai's DNA? Code. Code is like a DNA code, which he directly implanted into the Shinjus. They literally have Shibai's DNA, so one could assume that it's like Boruto suggested, that maybe Ishiki's karma triggered the transformation. Or one could assume it's Shibai. I would bet on the latter, to be honest. I have made a few videos about that, I will put them all in the description and comments, definitely check them out. Then the inevitable happens. Shikamaru establishes a secret communication between him and Boruto through Ino. Something I also predicted when the first chapter dropped, that they will use that kind of communication method. Shikamaru reveals, and with that confirms another prediction I made, that he's only pretending to be Hokage as discussed a bit earlier in this video. Essentially, he reveals that he believes Boruto to be Naruto's son, and yet he can't do anything, otherwise he will lose his position as a Hokage. Shikamaru knows, just like Amado, that their memories were changed. But we need to keep in mind that because Amado likely knew Shikamaru was spying on him, if he is not only aware of a memory change taking place but is in fact not affected by it and only pretends to be, he may simply have wanted Shikamaru to find out because it's in favor of his bigger plan in general, which again highlights the Hokage position. Then Mitsuki attacks and the confrontation begins. Boruto finally shows that he can fly, which is Shinjutsu, so the idea that he is entirely refusing to use Otsutsuki powers is not true, and yet it's obvious that he is holding back a lot. Covering the whole Mitsuki situation doesn't make sense right now because I made a whole video about it. As mentioned, I will link all the reference videos in the description and the comments. So what do you think of this new Boruto chapter? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, then please leave a like, it really helps me a lot. And if you want to see more Boruto content, theories, reviews, explanations, then subscribe to this channel with the notification bell activated for more videos. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye!